Hi, I'm Bianca Lawson, and I'm going to be looking at my most iconic roles.
I'm your cult boyfriend. This is a countdown of the top 10 underutilized teen drama characters. Now, there are tons of these kinds of characters. These are simply the first 10 that came to my mind. Now, an underutilized character, I think we know what that means. A character who you wish you saw more of. A character who clearly had a larger plan, like the showrunners had a larger goal for these characters, and for one reason or another, they weren't able to see that come to fruition. They weren't able to complete that character's arc. So this list is comprised of characters I wish I saw more of, and honestly, arcs that were never finished but would have been better than the ones that we got. So, at number 10, we have Tristan Dugray from Gilmore Girls. I have a whole video called The Beautiful Ruins of Tristan Dugray about how clearly Chad Michael Murray left the show to do Dawson's Creek, and clearly he was supposed to be like the primary romantic interest for Rory. In fact, that's been confirmed by Chad Michael Murray and I think some of the creatives on the show that he was going to be Logan. Logan's storyline was going to ultimately be Tristan Dugrace. Now it's at number 10 because I mean it's probably the best example of an underutilized character, but it's at number 10 because the episode of season 2, Tristan's final episode, Runaway Little Boy, episode 9, the way they handle writing Tristan Dugray off the show, the way Amy Sherman Palladino handled it was remarkable, was masterful, and made for one of the greatest episodes of teen drama ever. In fact, one of the greatest pieces of art ever is Tristan Dugray's final episode. It's possibly the most clever piece of postmodern pop art I've ever watched. The character Tristan Dugray himself is acting like a postmodern brat who is clearly upset that his actor is leaving and he can no longer fulfill his arc. Romeo cannot complete his storyline. And there's so many brilliant moments within that episode that he's at number 10 because it's not as tragic as the rest, because Gilmore Girls was self-aware enough to turn a failed arc, like a lost opportunity, into something that was beyond magnificent, beyond beautiful. So that's why he's at number 10. He's probably the best example of an underutilized character, but the way that Gilmore Girls underutilized him was brilliant. Amy Sherman Palladino from Gilmore Girls was extremely clever, and she even incorporated the show's flaws into an extremely clever mosaic, honestly. Like, it's such a cool show. At number 9, Farley Reynolds from Beverly Hills 90210. Now, I didn't love this character, played by Hilary Swank. I wasn't given enough time to. The reason I think she belongs on this list is because of the possibility that she could have provided to Steve Sanders. Steve is infamously the most one-dimensional character on the show, and through Carly, we could have seen maturity from Steve, because Carly was a single mother, and we could have seen Steve, being forced to mature in a masculine way that challenged his character. And that was always the key to completing Steve's character arc, or at least making him complicated whatsoever, since in season 10, that's where he starts to become more mature because he and Janet are expecting a baby. So clearly, raising of a child is the way to make Steve Sanders a complicated character, and they had that opportunity in season 8, but they chose to fire Hilary Swank instead of completing that arc. So underutilized for sure. And that's a situation where, as we're going to see in a lot of different circumstances, in a lot of different cases, when a character is written off without completing their arc, the other characters within the piece suffer from it. At number 8, Veruca from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This character is extremely hated, and I get it, but her arc in season 4 was supposed to last the entire season, but Seth Green, who was the most important part of Veruca's would-be arc, had to leave the show very early, so Veruca's arc with Oz was rushed. And it made it kind of sloppy, and it made Veruca seem pretty fucking evil. pretty fucking careless and callous as well. Whereas I think that I love the actress who played Veruca. I thought she was very cute. I thought that a Willow, Oz, and Veruca triangle would have been really nice and interesting and dramatic to see. But since it was rushed, it not only made the audience hate Veruca because it wasn't a very nuanced storyline, I see a huge waste of opportunity because I think Veruca could have been a really interesting either like romantic interest or secondary antagonist. I thought she would have been wonderful on the show. That is certainly an underutilized character. And the cost of her being underutilized is a lot of people hold a grudge against Oz as a character, and no one likes Veruca but me because I can see that. I can see the potential there. And there was so much, like, honestly, there was so much potential within Veruca to be a really electric kind of character. At number 7, Sydney Driscoll from Pretty Little Liars. Now, I thought Sydney was like visually very captivating, and there was a certain aura about her. Like her aura was maxed out. Like I liked being around her. The show seemed to hint at like so many interesting things, like her and Jenna's secret pact or like allegiance. Pretty Little Liars was a show that played with like the mechanisms of storytelling, of pulp storytelling, and it seemed like Sydney was a really cool, like messed up hog within this like really trashy machine that was the Pretty Little Liars narrative system. But we never saw enough of Sydney. I feel like she was entirely underutilized, and she could have been a really interesting part of the show's second half. But I never really had the opportunity to get to know her. I understand that we want to keep characters mysterious on Pretty Little Liars, but she just seems half considered. Like, I don't even know if Chloe Bridges, who played Sydney Driscoll, I don't know if I. Marlene King, the showrunner, I don't know if anyone knows what the fuck Sydney's deal was because it was just so underused. It was just so neglected, you know? I liked Sydney Driscoll. I would have liked to see more of her. She was exciting. Everyone who's in Jenna's orbit is exciting, and like Jenna is a less is more character, but we saw enough of her. Just like Noel Kahn is a less is more character, but we saw enough of him. Sydney Driscoll, we did not. We did not. We saw more than enough of that stupid fucking blonde bitch. I can only talk about Pretty Little Liars until like there's a point where I will just fucking lose it, dude. It's such an aggravating show, but it was so fun to interact with. If you haven't watched my Pretty Little Liars videos, why don't you do that? It's a roller coaster, man. It's really it's so much more complicated than anyone gives it credit for, and that's not to say I'm not saying that it's great because it's not, but it's also unconcerned about being great. But Sydney Driscoll would have loved to see more of you. At number 6, Shelley Simon from One Tree Hill, a clean teen, like the main clean teen. I thought that her character was pathetically underutilized, and like she ultimately ended up becoming some sort of like fucking mouthpiece. I think it's like mouthpiece for virginity or mouthpiece for fucking whatever, dude. I'm sorry, I've entertained myself with wordplay because Mouth is ultimately the character who apparently knows her best and like she sleeps with him. She becomes the mouthpiece. I think every character who has to be around Mouth or whose like primary arc comes to completion, like with Mouth is an is an underutilized character. But I thought that Shelley had a really I thought she was captivating. I thought she was really arresting. I wanted to play around with her philosophy more. And I know we challenged her psychology, but I wish that we challenged it in ways that were interesting. And I feel like most of the ways that we challenged Shelley's like psychology was demeaning to the character. And I wanted to see that character treated with more dignity and integrity because I thought she could have been a really, really, really cool um case study, like a really great character for me to analyze, but there wasn't enough there. I loved her. I love her. All right. Like I wish I got um I wish she was used differently. And she was ultimately underutilized because we didn't see very much of her after season 4. At number 5, possibly the most agreeable character on my entire list. I see people still mourning the loss of Dave Rygowski from Gilmore Girls. My name is Zach. I apologize on behalf of all Zachs, fictitious and real, for all of our crimes, for all of our many, many misdeeds. Of course, when Dave left, Lane was thrown together with Zach, and thus began the downfall of Lane Kim. Dave and Lane were so cute. I think Dave and Lane were a better and cuter and more adorable and more interesting, honestly, like a better couple than Seth and Summer, because I just vibed so much with Dave and Lane, and I loved seeing Lane happy and being slightly rebellious and romantic with Dave. And of course, Adam Brody is king. Like, he's excellent at playing this kind of archetype. He did leave Gilmore Girls to go to the OC, and I gotta say, it was the right decision. Gilmore Girls suffered when once Dave left, once Adam Brody left the show. Gilmore Girls suffered, and Lane Kim was just pitifully handled from that point on. Like, it's kind of insulting in a lot of different ways. That's one area where Amy Sherman Palladino was not as clever as she thought she was. Lane Kim, a travesty. What happened to her was a travesty through Gilmore Girls. But Adam Brody made the correct decision because Seth Cohen on the OC is legendary. He would go on to the OC to make history, to make teen drama history, because Seth Cohen is one of the best, most important characters in all of teen drama. And I think that Seth Cohen, like, he was better than David Silver ultimately. He was better than any character Anthony Michael Hall ever played. He might be the most important loser in teen television. Like, Seth Cohen revolutionized that archetype in wildly fascinating ways. But Dave Rygowski, well, what could have been, though? It's very sad that Adam Brody left the show, but I think he left the show for the right reasons because the OC proved to be something that was beyond beautiful. And of course, being able to work with Josh Schwartz and Stephanie Savage before Josh and Stephanie would go on to make my favorite teen drama ever, my favorite piece of art ever, Gossip Girl, with Leighton Meester, who would be Adam Brody's future wife. It's very significant and good that Adam Brody left Gilmore Girls, but Gilmore Girls itself suffered because of that. Number 4, Emily Bennett in The Vampire Diaries, played by Bianca Lawson, my one true love. Emily Bennett is an ancestor of Bonnie Bennett, and she appears as a ghost. And I thought that Kevin Williamson was doing really cool things by having Bonnie Bennett, Cat Graham, speak with Bianca Lawson, Emily Bennett's voice, within the show. But when she would be kind of inhabited or possessed by the ghost of Emily Bennett, she would speak with Bianca Lawson's voice. And I thought that Kevin Williamson was doing some rather intriguing things, making an intriguing statement about race within teen television, which does have a spotty history, or I'll just say like a pretty shitty history when it comes to race representation. And I thought that Bonnie speaking with like Bianca Lawson, who has such a storied history throughout the genre from the very beginning of the teen TV revolution, speaking with Bianca Lawson's voice, was acknowledging the lineage of Black women within the genre, and also like the silencing of them and the underutilization of most of them. And I thought that was like a really cool thing. The thing is, like, Emily Bennett was hardly in the show. Bianca Lawson was hardly there, but it was like very powerful when she appeared. I wish Emily Bennett appeared at the very end of the show where all of Bonnie's ancestors came and helped her hold back Hellfire. If I'm remembering that correctly, the show got fucking crazy, but noticeably, Bianca Lawson wasn't there for that. I feel like Emily Bennett was very underutilized. And Vampire Diaries was good about making up for mistakes of underutilization. They would have a lot of characters come back as ghosts after they died, or like in dream sequences, or some way. In some way, they would have characters come back to complete their character arcs that were robbed and taken from them by dying too early on the show. Vampire Diaries is very good about that, but maybe it's just my massive crush on Bianca Lawson, but I would have been comfortable seeing a lot more of Emily Bennett, especially with the interesting things that I thought they were doing with her character through Kat Graham's character. I thought it was lovely. At number three, we have Kendra, played by Bianca Lawson. Go figure. Kendra is the second Slayer in season two. She's only in a handful of episodes. Now, she was murdered. She was killed off before we ever truly got to know her, but she was just so fucking cool. I don't wish that she survived that season. I don't, because Faith would come in season three as the next Slayer, the bad girl Slayer, right? And she's one of my favorite teen drama characters of all time. If you can see that tattoo there, like they used Faith wonderfully. And like the only way for her to get into play to be activated is to have Kendra die. That said, I wish that she was in almost the majority of season two. She's only in a handful of episodes. I wish that she was in most of the episodes of season two so we can see Buffy and Kendra get along or like work together or clash with each other. I wanted to know more about Kendra's backstory, her psychology. I wanted to see her be a badass more, like because the few sequences that we got of action were like really fucking cool. I don't wish that like she survived through the whole show. I just wish that there was a lot more of her within season two before Drusilla killed her. That's all. And that's not too much to ask for, okay? Joss, okay, Joss fucking Whedon, like you could have done that for me, dude. But ultimately, her death did set the stage for Faith Lahane, who I do believe is the greatest character on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But that really shouldn't matter. We should have gotten a lot more of Kendra within Buffy the Vampire Slayer season two, and we didn't. We deserved a lot more. She deserved better. She still could have died, but it just felt like, wow, hardly even knew you. And I really wish I did. Number two, Nikki Green on Dawson's Creek, played by Bianca Lawson. Again, are you noticing a pattern? Nikki Green was a romantic interest for Dawson himself. She was also a filmmaker, but she had a more mature vision when it came to composition and to living her own life. And I thought that that was an extraordinarily underutilized character. She's also the principal's daughter. Uh, Oh my God, like why the fuck? Why the fuck wasn't she like in so many more episodes? She challenged Dawson in fascinating ways, in truly cinematic ones, challenged him in ways that spoke to his own language because Dawson is a person who viewed real life as cinema, or at least had cinematic expectations of his life, which kind of ruined a lot of his own like interpersonal relations and made Dawson seem positively psychotic at times because of his cinematic reality. Nikki was poking holes in that, was seeing through that while at the same time using the language of cinema not only to romance Dawson but to also kind of guide him into a new sincerity or at least some semblance of emotional maturity, which for Dawson would be cinematic maturity, get him out of his Peter Pan stage. But no, we hardly got any Nikki. I loved Nikki. She is so like let's just say like Bianca Lawson is one of the most like beautiful women that's ever lived. So like of course she's going to be extraordinarily captivating at all times. And the kicker is that she's also such an extraordinary actress and she's perfect on these teen shows. And if you haven't noticed, like she's incredibly significant to the history of the genre and so criminally underutilized over and over and over again. Number one, Miss Morrell in Teen Wolf, played by Bianca Lawson. I have a video analyzing Bianca Lawson within Teen Wolf. Now, I do think Teen Wolf had the decency to finally, after years and years and years of being underused, underutilized, and seemingly underappreciated, or just flat out unappreciated within the teen drama like art form, Teen Wolf seems to put spotlight on Bianca Lawson's significance, on Bianca Lawson herself, on Bianca Lawson as the ultimate starlet of teen television, as the ultimate philosopher of teen television. What Teen Wolf did with Bianca Lawson is nothing less than incredible and masterful. Now, she wasn't in it a lot. She was in 12 episodes, I think. And very briefly in those episodes, like she could be there for a minute in each episode. Like she was barely in it. Every time she was, there was this instant enigmatic quality and this sexiness and this realness, this real philosophy that was just radiating, just being amplified, just fucking glowing from her, from the character. I wish we got a lot more of her on the show. So yeah, the top four on my underutilized teen TV characters list are all Bianca Lawson characters, and I think that that should speak volumes about this genre, this mode of art that I love so much from this particular kind of Y2K generation. It should speak volumes critically about how it handled black women, black characters,
Oh my god. Cross fingers. This isn't terribly embarrassing.
which is to say, not well, underutilized, full of wasted potential. And yet, people like Bianca Lawson are just so talented, so unbelievably legendary and electric and magnetic that no matter how underutilized they are, they just fucking rise above it all. And you end up, when you're done with a television show, not thinking about the main character, but you think about that Bianca Lawson character who was only there for 5 fucking episodes. You find yourself thinking about her the most because she truly had a gift and still has a gift. The woman is an actual vampire, refuses to age, I swear to God. But Bianca Lawson is just absolutely perfect, startlingly perfect, immaculate, flawless. I love her so much, and I think that she's like a perfect symbol of just denying raw talent, denying like the film magic, because there's something special that happens with Bianca Lawson each and every time. I think that teen television's most massive flaw is the way it failed to utilize its characters of color, its black characters specifically. Especially when you had someone like Bianca Lawson, who seemed to be in every single fucking show within the genre and underutilized completely. If you notice, though, Pretty Little Liars isn't on this list. I do think, personally, she was underutilized on that show, but she was in 22 episodes. That's fine. Okay, you were in enough episodes as Maya, Bianca Lawson, and we at least we got to know Maya. We got to know her pretty well. I just think that it was cheap and that Pretty Little Liars is bury your gaze. Like, bury your gaze. I think that that is absolutely what Pretty Little Liars was when it came to Maya Saint Germain. So, like, there is a fair bit of underutilization there as well, but at least we got to be around Bianca for a couple seasons. That's not the case in these other shows. Not really. In fact, Pretty Little Liars had treated her with the most dignity, but Teen Wolf treated her with the most respect. Teen Wolf seemed to respect her history, respect her legendary status, even if it often goes unrecognized. Bianca Lawson is the queen bee, the queen bee for Bianca, the queen bee of the teen drama landscape, of teen drama television. She's the queen bee. And it fucking frustrates me to no end that half of my fucking list of underutilized characters are ones that she portrayed. That's a fucking crime, dude. Like, that's so fucking dumb. She's like, if I had to name the five most important people within Y2K teen television, it would be probably like Kevin Williamson, Amy Sherman Palladino, Chad Michael Murray, um, Josh Schwartz and Bianca Lawson. That would probably be it. She'd be right there. Like her and Chad Michael Murray, that's the king and queen of teen television, of Y2K teen television. And fucking like it makes me furious, dude. How like look at Chad. He he made it to this list too, only because he was leaving Gilmore Girls to be in a larger role on a more popular show. Like even Chad got to be the star of One Tree Hill for fucking 6 seasons. He got to have the spotlight quite a few times. Bianca Lawson never did. Not within Y2K teen television. It's just so unfair. And I don't often see Bianca Lawson honestly, like, brought up within these discussions. If I ever see her brought up, it's just kinda superficial things about how she's still maddeningly beautiful and doesn't age, which I get it, you should bring that up. I brought that up, but that's, like, the only capacity that I see her brought up within. Not like she built this fucking genre, and also that, like that's why The Vampire Diaries is so cool because Kat Graham, the fact that she was one of the stars of The Vampire Diaries, like, her character has all of Bianca Lawson's failed characters, underutilized ones to thank for that moment in the spotlight. And that's what made Emily Bennett like so interesting on The Vampire Diaries, speaking through like an older archetype, speaking through the newer archetype, and like that newer archetype finally gets a starring credit, which is something Bianca Lawson never did receive except for on Pretty Little Liars. There's still so much artistry. And in some of these roles, like especially with the Vampire Diaries and Teen Wolf, I think you get the idea that the showrunners and the creators and like the writers are commenting on like I wish I could have done more with her. I wish that the genre did more with her. You know, she did more with the genre than the genre did with her. Like she did more for teen drama than teen drama did for her. That's insane. She gave the most to the genre and was rewarded the least for it. And it has to be race. There's no other thing. Like she's 10 times hotter than like any of the girls around. And I know you had like I'm sorry for seeming superficial, but you had to be like visually attractive or appealing to be on the WB as much as like Bianca Lawson was. And Bianca Lawson is 10 times hotter than anyone who appeared in any of those other shows. So it's not looks, and it's definitely not talent. She's also 1,000 times like a better actress than most of the actors and actresses that we see in these other teen dramas. Like she's a better actress, she looks more beautiful. She's just black. Like that to me is the only difference. Because if you watch videos of her going over her career, like she's brought to tears by some of these characters that she played in these teen shows. Brought to tears by them.
This feels like therapy. Like, thanks, guys. Like, I got so emotional about it because you forget, like, to, like, see, like, stuff from when you're, like, 13, 14 to, like, now, basically. And, like, how much those characters went through, how many things I've gone through, like, how much of myself I put in those characters, how much those characters help me. And I didn't realize how, like, deep this was going to be for me. Thank you for taking this journey down memory lane with me.
Fucking put Adam Brody in a room and force him to watch a scene from the OC, and he'll treat it like it's some sort of torture method. Like he's completely embarrassed by it. And a lot of these teen actors are completely embarrassed by their roles. Meanwhile, Bianca Lawson is like brought to tears by a lot of the roles that she played because I think she deeply respected the characters that she was playing. Maybe not the shows, but the characters. Well, someone had to. Thank God Bianca did. She like she was grateful for being a part of the Y2K teen television revolution. She deserved better. All of her characters deserved better. Pisses me off that this list is full of Bianca Lawson characters. Those fan accounts that you see on Instagram and Twitter, all over social media, those fan accounts for 90s and 2000s teen television, some of them post Bianca Lawson regularly, and I love those. Those are the one I follow those. I follow those, and I always like click a like whenever I see Bianca Lawson being mentioned. But most of them act like she doesn't exist, unless they're talking about how she never ages. Like she's so much more than that. Like I see her, and I see something like emblematic, something mammoth, something totally symbolic and monumental. I see the ultimate significance of teen drama. And ultimately, her significance is overwhelming. Thank you for watching. I've been your cult boyfriend. Did you like my list? I know what you're thinking. This list was just an excuse to rant and rave about Bianca Lawson. What of it? It wasn't. I didn't expect I didn't expect to go off for that long. It wasn't, I swear to God. There are some characters you feel are underutilized. Like I said at the beginning, there are tons of these characters who show up for 5 to 10 episodes, and you're like, "What the fuck? What happened to them? What? You can't just dangle that carrot in front of like, I'm hungry. Give me my treat. Give me my arc." Thank you for watching me. Let me know in the comments who you would have put on your list of top 10 underutilized teen drama characters, and do you disagree with any of mine? Were you like, "Damn, I'm so happy that we don't see them. I was hoping that they'd go, and they did go, and I'm happy about it." Let me know. Thank you for watching.